Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I just put you on mute for a second. All right. Good afternoon, YouTube. This is your man, all the way, George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Bodybuilding Talk. We're doing today is our special episode of Muscle Talk Mondays, number 28. And right now, I'm waiting on my guests. My guests will be this, and this is a special one. I have a double header for y'all folks, and that is two people in the IFB league, and that is one Miss Tina S. Williams and her husband, one Mr. Big Keith Williams. And right now, we're waiting on some things to get taken care of. There might be some issues with the connection. I'm hoping once they get straightened up, we'll get them back on, and we're just gonna. I'm still checking with them, see if it's still going. All you gotta do is once you click it, and I'll click you in. There you go. All righty, and here they go. Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Welcome, y'all. Yeah. And you brought the baby with you.
Yeah, he's right there. Say hi.
Before I do this, say, like, Dr. Evil, you can keep your money and meet your baby. Yeah. But anyway, like I said, this is our special guest. One Miss Tina S. Williams and her husband, Mr. Big Keith Williams. Before I start this, Mr. Big Keith, sir, I like to thank you for letting me talk to your wife because I need your permission first before I did this. Because I don't want to disrespect no man, his wife. So I just want to ask you, just get your permission first, sir.
Absolutely. She doesn't need my permission. Absolutely.
All right, thank you, sir. And I'll be happy to ask you some questions. I'll be happy to ask you some questions too, sir, because this is just a pleasure to get you both here. Anyway, I want to congratulate Tina on making the Wings of Strength Ambassador Program. Congratulations. And and that's a big thing because that helps you as a competitor because I think your ladies get a stipend for being an ambassador. It helps you with it give you a little money. You do the shows, you come, you take some pictures, you do hellos and whatever else.
Yes. It's I love being able to do that because I'm able to represent the sport in a positive sense. Female bodybuilding went through a rough time and a lot of people had a interpretation of it that I feel was wrong. So it's good to be able to bring back women's bodybuilding in such a great light and to be able to do it on such a big stage, especially with the Wings of Strength behind us.
And then plus with the return of it back to the Olympia, that's the big thing because back in around about 2015, the IFBB decided to drop female bodybuilding from the lineup, and then and Jake Woods came and they saved it by added on to the other shows, and then also creating the Rising Phoenix, and that became alternative for the Miss Olympia.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, the first question is what got you into such
what got me into women's bodybuilding?
Consider a very masculine sport.
Well, what got me into women's bodybuilding, was that your question? I'm sorry, you cut out.
Hello?
Are you there?
Oh yeah, what I said was what got you into bodybuilding, what some people consider such a masculine sport. Yes, I can hear you. Hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Damn, it's like last Chantel Coates.
Yes, I can. So what got me into women's bodybuilding was the fact that every time I would go to the national level, I wouldn't get past third or second place because I was too big for that, lineup. And the one thing I realized
Women's
is,
physique, to be exact.
yeah, women's physique to be exact.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
when I realized that, maybe this was a jump that I needed to make, I was real skeptical. And the reason why was I'm a really tall girl for women's bodybuilding. I mean, I'm 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
So that being taken into consideration, I realized with the size that I needed to have, and the height that I was, like my average weight needed to be at least 185 on stage. So I needed to get up past 200. So I reached out to several people, Mel Specco being the one in particular at the time. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
just be honest with me. Is women's bodybuilding what you think I would be successful in? And she said, absolutely, I think you would do well in it. And so that's where I had talked to Keith, and I understood that I needed to make a coaching change and that I needed to do things that it's a whole different ball game and it's a whole different world. So at that point, I realized I needed to switch over, and I did, and I ended up winning the Miss International that following year.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember that. That was the back in 2018, and that was and then you were able, because if you win Miss International, you compete at the Chicago Pro. Also, you get a straight shot to the Phoenix. Also, I'm gonna ask Mr. Keith, when did you get into bodybuilding? What got you into it, sir?
Once I retired from the NFL, I figured that I needed to do something because I couldn't just sit around and do anything. And unfortunately, concussions played their toll on me in the NFL after playing for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, I went into bodybuilding really not knowing anything about the sport, and was trained by a lightweight and doing his diet. And I was a trainer at I think I started training people at Lifetime Fitness in Minnesota. And went on the stage and played second behind the guy that I didn't really think I should play second behind. And I was like, I don't know if this is for me because I'm an Olympic athlete. I'm an NFL Super Bowl champion. I'm an Olympic athlete. And I was just telling somebody the other day, in my sport, the other sports I played, if I come across the finish line, I'm the winner. If we score the most points at the end of the game, we're the winner. And going into a sport, and I told somebody, to be honest, if I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I would have went into bodybuilding because
Uh-huh.
it's so subjective, so, and it's so, I was a four-time runner-up at USA's and Nationals and North Americans before I turned pro, so not understanding the logistics and the politics that go into the sport, I don't know if I would want to do that all again because, sometimes the best athlete doesn't always win. Let's just say that. We're in track. If I cross the finish line, like I said before, I win. If we score the most points, we win. So I went to the sport, and actually, when I did my first junior national show after winning the local show, and I was in a call out, and I basically didn't even know what a call out was because everybody's like, "Man, I hope I make the first call out." I'm like, "What's that?" And out of 31 guys in the super heavyweights of junior nationals, I was the first guy called out, and then being the third. And I guess I kind of got hooked from there, and so I was stuck in the sport. So I was like, well, this is something I'll give it a run at and see how good I can do. And basically, that's how I got into the sport.
That's interesting. Like you were in the NFL, and then you jumped from where people call more traditional sport to what we consider not as traditional. As bodybuilding is seen more as a pageant sport compared to like football, basketball, baseball. The sports that are been around for years that a lot of people usually watch in. Yeah. But like I said, but the good question: how'd y'all two meet? How y'all get together and make this power couple?
How did what about the power couple?
We lost the audio for a second. What did you say, George, about the power couple?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How'd y'all meet the big couple?
Well, I was a guest poster at a show in Iowa.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, George?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I was the guest
Yeah, I can
poster.
hear it's technology. It's trying to catch up.
Exactly. Those feeds. Well, I was a guest poster at the Hawkeye Open in Iowa City, Iowa, and Tino was actually competing. And we had met a long time ago prior to The girl I was dating at the time was spray tanning, and actually spray tanned Tina, and she was married to somebody else. And it's kind of weird because that was 5 years prior to us meeting each other, and she was competing, I was guest posing, and we started sitting down and talking. And from that point on, we started dating, and then 7 months later, we got married. Literally.
Oh, you love behind the stage.
Well,
But like I
the
said,
funny thing is, that neither one of us were looking to date anybody. We're both single. We weren't looking to. I was getting ready for the New York Pro. It was my second year as a pro, and she was trying to qualify for nationals. So both of us were so focused on our careers at that time that it was just something that happens. And sometimes God put people in your life for a reason. So 8 years later, here we are. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, George?
you say, yeah. Oh, is he all right? Is he all right?
Yeah. He's
Got her. Yeah, but like I said, and that's quite often happens a lot, 'cause especially in this sport, there's a lot of couples that come together because you have that common bond in this sport. But also, there's a little bit of kind of underlying competition, even though y'all in separate divisions, there's still sort of competition in a way. Is there competition in between y'all two when you're at home, when you're in the gym, when you try to do an extra rep, or when you do an extra set or something like that, or
Well, we don't train together. I train with a couple buddies, and Tina's like a solo girl. She likes training by herself. So, and I get it. I like the camaraderies of my guys that I train with, and so, we don't. I think this sport is so selfish, and people think a lot about that. We're trying to compete against each other, but we're in totally two different divisions. And my job last year when it came to Tina and not necessarily agreeing what was going on in her career is I'm the one decided to make the coaching change for her. I started coaching Tina when we started dating in women's physique, but when she went into women's bodybuilding, I thought that was a whole different genre of training and what you had to do in order to get ready for a show. So I decided that we need to find her a coach that can get her ready for a show, and that's what we end up doing.
And like I said, you said you studied under Melody Specco, and I follow Melody on social media. And I remember people say that they called y'all two kind of like twins, because y'all kind of looked alike. And and that's just it's quick because even though she's from Canada, you're here in the United States. And what was it like being under her and learning what she's teaching you about the sport and everything else?
Yeah, she was very good at what she did, and I cannot take any credit away for the success that I had while I was under her. I mean, she changed me a lot, and I just felt we had come. It's kind of like when you come with a coach, you get to an end of the road, and when you get to the end of the road, you move forward. And it wasn't personal. It wasn't anything to do with her not doing anything right. I just felt like I just needed a change, and then that's when we went with Alina.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so Alina Pupa.
Yes,
Popa.
She took me over in the middle of
Popa.
And I really love Alina. She's encouraging. She's got a soft side to her, but she has an expectation. Everything so far that of her being my coach, I've absolutely loved it. So.
I know she trained at least two other bodybuilders. I know she trained Lisa Cross one time, and there was another young lady by the name of Jenny Ruza. I forgot her name. Jenny dropped out. I think after 2019. I think she got married, and I think she was in the military. And I think she was pretty impressive. I thought she had a great future, but life either go this path or go that path.
Yeah. I'm excited.
And like I say, with the and now with one thing was like we all know that with the whole thing with COVID, it kind of messed up last year's season. I mean, a lot of shows were shut down. A lot of competitors couldn't compete and train. And you were able to compete in some shows. Quite a few. I know you did the Omaha. You did the you did
Chicago
the
and New
Savannah,
York. Yeah,
Chicago,
I did 4
and
last.
yeah. And I think some people say they want. I think someone wanted to do the Puerto Rico because of the restrictions because of COVID that was cut out. And I remember I remember you told me that on IG that you was hoping to make the Olympia, but you missed by one. And the big question was why did you do the Tampa?
I'll answer that. Can I answer that question? So she didn't do the Tampa.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Because after Omaha, I decided that we need to go in a different direction with coaches. So I started interviewing coaches while she was competing. And the 3 names that came to mind was my brother Stan Efforting, Shane Hughley, and Alina. And when it boiled down to it, after we all decided, we thought Alina was the best. But it was like the Tampa was the next weekend. So we didn't know that her transitioning from getting a new coach and getting ready for a show, that it would be the best move. So, and it actually was the worst move because the lineup was decent. But, I mean, we should have did it. It was just a mistake on our part. Alina didn't really say anything at the time.
She did tell me, she said, what do you think about doing Tampa? And this was the Tuesday before the show. So I had like 4 days.
Ooh.
And I said, man, I don't know. And in the back of your mind, there's going to be like 20 girls. And are you going to be ready? And I kind of had that doubt lingering. And she's like, you should do it. And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't think I have enough time. And she said, well, that's fine. We'll just go for Savannah. And then after the lineup came out, she's, I should have done Tampa. If I would have done Tampa, I'd have been in the Olympia.
But, I mean, people understand.
Yeah, I would have, because I think
Tina dieted for a whole year because, like, the first show she was supposed to do was Savannah. And then that show got canceled. So then and that was in April. So then she had to do what we ended up doing in Omaha. Tina had diet. People don't understand about Tina last year. She dieted for a whole year straight. Some girls didn't diet, but she dieted literally for a whole year straight. Like, she didn't go off. She didn't get hardly any cheat meals. So she dieted for a whole year straight. And at the end of it all, she was just tired. I mean, that one point killed her. But she was just, no athletes die. And I've done, and when I was an amateur, I've done USA's nationals and North Americans, and I know how hard that is on the body as a male. So I can't even imagine as a female. So for her, it was just tough because she literally dieted for 360, almost 365 days last year. She dieted for these shows because Savannah got canceled. And then Omaha was on. Omaha almost got canceled. Then Savannah went back on. Then after we got Alina, she said, let's do Chicago. Then we did Chicago. Then we did New York. So it was just like bam, bam, bam. And that's just hard to maintain and carry, So
yeah.
At the end, Alina ended up saying that, now that she has Tina for a whole year and she's excited for that, it was one of those things where, she was just tired at the end of the year. And it had been tough to go into Olympia and still maintain what she had been maintaining all year.
Yeah, but it was definitely heartbreaking for me because I had put in so much time to get there and to fall 1 point short. It was, I don't even know. I can't even explain the feeling that I had.
It's like my favorite movie, Fast and Furious. Remember what Vin Diesel said, be it a yard or be it a mile, a win is a win. And you missed it by, yeah. And
I did.
If you're out there, people following this, this is a great opportunity. If you want to ask questions, I got a new subscriber to my channel, Kevin Reese. Thank you for subscribing. Also, drop a like. Say hello to Miss Williams and Mr. Williams. Also, I got my Cash App. You want to see me a little something, help me out some. And also, I have my GoFundMe and also my PayPal. And this is I was talking with Rashana about is that the thing about bodybuilding is that y'all ladies, y'all do this sport for a passion because it's not as much money compared to like the men where I know Keith could probably say this that you guys do pretty well with shows. But when it comes to your ladies, it's the paycheck is not as good, and it's just hard trying to you got to think about it. Keith has got to wear a banana hammock, and you got to have practically 2 posing suits. One got to be bejeweled. You got to have makeup. You got to have this. You got to have your tan and stuff like that. But if there was a possible way, like if sponsorship. or like if especially if we, like I mentioned how if a major corporation, now there's like I know there's a lot of corporations, but something like a mainline corporation, something like Nike or Reebok, as you follow my channel, I follow MMA, and just recently UFC ended their contract with Reebok, and they now have a contract with Venom, another company. But if that was something to help out bodybuilding in general, would that think would women's bodybuilding also?
Yeah, I can honestly say though, with the Wings of Strength and what they have done in general has been absolutely amazing. And Jake has made what we do worth what we've done.
Oh yeah.
And he supports us so much and he gives us so much. Um, I mean, myself and I know all the bodybuilders I could probably speak for, we can't thank him and Wings of Strength enough. If it wasn't for them, I mean, we wouldn't be here, to be honest. And he has supported us financially and across the board. Pretty much since I've been a bodybuilder, I've been supported by Wings of Strength. And to be honest, I mean, sponsorships are always good, but there's no backing like the backing of Wings of Strength. Nope. And I know there's a lot of people that are bitter out there that, are, bikini competitors or their physique competitors. And, I shared this with Alina one day. I said, I sat backstage during the Miss International and one of the physique pros was sitting next to me. And she asked me what I was doing. And I said, I'm here for the Miss International to get my pro card. I said, I've been working 14 years for this day. I hope it's tonight. And she said, in what? And I said, in bodybuilding. I reiterated it. And she said, why? You guys aren't relevant to this sport. You're not even in the Olympia. It caught me off guard.
Hater.
Right. And I said, wow, not only is this woman a pro, but she went to the Olympia that year. Because she said that to me, I watched her. And she had been in it the year before. And I was so caught off guard with what she said. All I said to her was, we'll be back. I'm doing what I love. And that was it. And at the end of the day, I think about that comment a lot because to me, even though we were not in the Olympia, we were relevant. We've never not been relevant, but we're relevant to those who matter. And if we're not relevant to you, then you know what? It doesn't matter to us. Because at the end of the day, we have the Wings of Strength and all of our fans and you and our spouses that appreciate what we do. That's all we need.
Because I know like this bodybuilding started out years ago back in the early 70s. It was almost like, like pageants tree in the early years, female bodybuilding. But then you got shoes, then you had the Richard McLeishes, and then you had the Corey Eversons, you had Linda Murray, you had Kim Tversky. The sport evolved. But when you have somebody who don't realize that they are actually in a drop in the bucket in the sport, that they're part of the sport, because technically physique was created as an alternative
for women's bodybuilding,
because people could the IP was and and if it wasn't for female bodybuilding, it wouldn't be physique. As I know, I follow a lot of these like Wings of Strength on social media. I know a while back Lena did a video where she just like kind of addressed it, and I addressed like this: you shouldn't have to tell nobody a damn thing. You have nobody. Now the bikini girls, they can make the money because you know what? A lot of the mainstream companies will use them because hey, they're pretty, got little tight little bodies. They can slap them on a cover or something, whatever. And y'all ladies, y'all really, it's hard for y'all to get sponsors. Maybe back 20 years ago, maybe Linda Murray was on the cover of Wheaties. That might be some big difference. But now these days, it's a lot harder. And that's why I mentioned how a lot of ladies they'll do like stuff on the side, like especially after the shows, y'all do the photo video sessions because that's the way to make extra money between. Because if you don't make the top 5, which is the money shows, you got to do like something like HBC, physique Physique HD, uh, Muscle Angels. Wings of Strength also do photo sessions, and that's where you make your money. And there's also the darker side of it, but but you got to think of that. That's how like I said, this is a sport where it's not much profit, and you have to ends meet. Because I know you have a full time, you have a job. Because I remember you work at a club, right, or a bar,
Yeah,
right?
I'm the general manager at I ran bars my whole life. I know it doesn't really go with competing, but I'm not a drinker. I don't drink at all, ever. Even in off season, I don't drink. So, but yeah, I do. I mean, there's days that I'll work 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I close. If I have to go in, I'll work a 14-hour shift. I still get my workouts done. I still get my food in. I still get my cardio. I might have 2 hours of sleep, but I don't ever let my job jeopardize my goals. And I am fortunate
Yeah,
to have people in my realm at work that will allow me, and it's nice because I'm able to take off when I need to take off. So like this year, Alina and I have
yeah,
agreed that we're going to do 3 shows in a row. So basically my entire like month of July, I won't be at my job. So, because we're doing
hmm
Omaha, Norfolk, and Chicago, and those are all back-to-back shows. So it's kind of nice with what I
hmm
do that I'm able to take off, and it doesn't really jeopardize my job, and it's not an 8 to 5 gig where I have to, corporate world. So it does make it nice. It's very
yeah.
flexible.
Yeah, because I used to have several jobs when I was young. I used to work for about 15 years in textiles at a plant. I used to work at a gas station till I was like, ooh, since I was 16. I live out here in the country. We did a lot of field work. And also another job was, I worked at a club too, Tina, but it was called a gentleman's club.
Ah,
And yeah, I did that for about 5 or 6 years. I was a gopher. I worked the door, worked the bathrooms. I did this, I did that. Get the money from the girls. Did this, did that. I had guys go and say, "Man, you work with all those women." I said, dude, it's just no matter what, clothes or unclothes, they can just aggravate." But to Mr. Keith, you know, what's your take on how the sport is for bodybuilding? What you feel would help to advance the sport?
As far as women is concerned, like I told Tina,
Both men and women.
here's the thing. We need to start judging the shows on who shows up and not who shows up in condition, who shows up in shape versus who shows up and who their name is. And I say this very constructively
Mhm.
because we understand the realm of our sport. But and that's the reason why I said if I was to go and do it all over again, I don't know if I would compete in this sport because sometimes the best
Mhm.
athlete doesn't win shows. You've been around just like I have. And there was things this year at the Olympia with Phil and,
Yeah.
in Hadi,
Mhm.
Hayden. And people see that. And what
Oh,
I'm really good friend. I'm not, I can say this. I really respect Jake, and I think me and Jake are really good friends. And we're getting on the elevator at the Olympia. And Jake has invested so much time and energy into not only pumping life back into women's bodybuilding, which I told Tina sometimes I'm jealous because from the standpoint of somebody who actually truly cares about the sport. And now him buying the Olympia and also having the worlds and all this other stuff, I feel that, like I told him, I said, it's one of those things where you cannot deceive the people who are sitting in the audience watching the same show because everybody's sitting there, and I understand these judges think they know everything, but I used to tell people in football terms, eye in the sky doesn't lie. And your eyes and my eyes are not
mhm.
going to tell me something that I don't see. So we see some of this, and
Mhm.
I like Phil, but I know a lot of people with that second and third place finish this year questioned what had really happened, and Rami came on
Mhm.
stage and he looked phenomenal. You can't take that away. Best shape he ever came in. Chad had him dialed in,
Mhm.
Dennis had him dialed in, and because you have a ton of guys that have a ton of potential, but don't bring that full authentic look to the stage. And so the one thing I think they need to start doing is instead of a guy showing up and because he has it's such and such, and I won't name anybody in particular, and put him in a place that he shouldn't be in, that they should make these guys start working, because it's going to kill the sport, in my opinion, if you don't do that. Because people are going to be like, I'm sitting there watching the same thing you're looking at, and I know you're a judge, and I'm not just sitting there watching it on a podcast or on a feed. I'm actually in the audience watching it, looking and scratching my head saying, how did that happen? You know what I'm saying? And so that's the biggest thing, that we need to start holding every athlete, men, women, and accountable for what they bring to the stage. And if you don't bring it to the stage, you just don't win. Because here's the thing: if you don't do that, George, think about this. What makes you hungry? If I didn't win the Super Bowl the year before, what's going to make me hungry to go back and try to win it? Losing. If I don't win my world championship in track and I come in second I ran 6.56 and guy ran 6.57, only thing I can do is go train harder and be better for the next year and come across the finish line first because of the disappointment. It's the same thing in the sport. Instead of rewarding people, and I can say this as a 4-time runner-up at USA's and Nationals, and not being a poor sport about it, that people looked at me and says, what's going on? Why are they playing? And it was on YouTube in particular when I did Nationals in USA's, or did Nationals in Atlanta. They said, why do they keep, excuse my language, keep fucking with them? Why? I set him stage in the middle of the stage the whole entire time and play second again. And it's one of those things where that's where that subjective point of view comes into perspective. Instead, they're saying, being given an honest opinion on who's stepping on stage, who's coming in, bringing their best. That's the way it should be. And that's the only thing I would want to see, in the sport, men and women, because I've watched it happen to Tina at Savannah, no offense at all. Girls who didn't come in condition and placed in front of her, and everybody sitting in the audience like, what happened? Even it was a kind of a subliminal message between Linda Murray and Lena about Tina at Savannah, they were surprised that she placed where she did. And that placing is probably the one point that killed her, that stopped her from going to the Olympia. So, and it's one of those things where it's frustrating, but we understand that we can't complain too much. We just got to keep plugging away and keep doing our best, because that aspect of things are out of our control. That's in the control of the 7 to 10 judges that are judging this. And everybody has a point of view, and everybody has their favorites, and everybody, does things in their own manner. And I can say that because I'm a judge here in the Midwest, and I don't look at, even if I have an athlete on stage, if they're not the best athlete on stage, they're not getting the first place. They're not getting the call out that they deserve. And I don't care if I'm their trainer or not. It's one of those things that once we start taking that attitude as judges and rewarding the athletes who actually bring their A game, I think that we will see a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are dropping out of the sport. Think about all the guys and girls that are not competing anymore and just hanging it up these days. The guy like the Jason Huzz and the Steve Fuklos and the Robert Bernicas, all these guys who I competed with who beat me to get their pro cards, not even competing anymore. They don't even compete anymore.
I'm thinking also because I think about, I did a video where I talk about certain bodybuilders who dropped out, like Shannon Courtney, and as I mentioned, the lady I mentioned, Jenny, who was trained by Alina, and it's just like I remember was it back in 2018 where Tina was competing at the Chicago Pro, and how Jay Fuchs got third place. And it was what was the chick's name? Jill something other. She got first. And I'm saying like this, she's, only thing about her is her calves. And she, and Jay just has an amazing body. Because I always had a big fan of Jay. Great body, great physique. Right now she's doing downtime back in Switzerland. But it's just, I've seen and like it happens so much for it. Like I talked about how 2000 when they decided where they had they had 2 Miss Olympias instead of just saying one, where they couldn't. I felt like Andrea Boschette should have won that year instead of giving instead of splitting it.
But and that's the thing. Like I said, you're talking to a 4-time USA and national runner-up in nationals, like back-to-backs. And again, it's one of those things where you don't understand. You understand the subjectiveness of the sport. And I've never been one to bitch or complain about my place. And it is what it is. Like I said earlier when we first started talking, I got into the sport not knowing what I was doing and where I was going, and to move as fast as I did kind of probably was part of the reason. But as I think this is my 8th or 9th year as a pro going into this sport, and seeing, the changes that I feel need to be made as far as men and women are concerned, that's the biggest thing. And watching watching Olympia was, you can start seeing it change, because think about it. The men's physique guy was a new champion who he was a champ. Well, the champion got knocked off the year before, and then it was very positive, because you see a bikini girl who was the old champion didn't even place in the top 5. You've seen a new title for the women's physique. So we're starting to see the sport change. So you don't see the redundancy of a champion staying a champion because he's a champion. Think about, if you really look at it, George, how many Mr. Olympia champions have there been over our time? Not very many. Ronnie's, the Arnolds, the Fields, and all these guys where, people thought maybe Kai should have won 1 or 2, and this person should have won, and Jay should have won and beat Kai or beat Ronnie before then. So when we're looking at the sport, I think the changing of the guard, if it's deserving, that is, it's more opportunist and will make people want to compete in the sport or continue to do the sport versus seeing the same redundant stuff all over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a repeat of the same old, like, what's that old saying? Different name, same shit.
Yeah.
Basically what it says.
Yes, And again, we seen things with Tina this year, and I'm like, really? I'm like, what are you guys looking at? And, I don't question judges and what they do, but I'm sitting there like, are we really looking at the same shit? Because, it doesn't make any sense to me. And again, I know that was her 2nd season, as a pro. And I think, the most exciting thing for Tina this year is to see her work with Alina for a whole year to bring something, really exciting and new, and knowing that Alina knows Tina's body now, and, and has this expectation of her. And Tina is one of those people, I can tell you, George, she doesn't cheat. She doesn't drink. She doesn't eat what she's not supposed to eat. She is one of the most disciplined people I know in this sport. I can tell you that right now. It's crazy how focused she is on what she needs to do. And that's why she's been successful and move very small and move very fast in the sport, and she loves it. And again, I can't say enough about Jake Woods and Wings of Strength, because I understand people are talking about sponsorships, but what he's done to even Tina's career in the last 2 years, to catapult her to where she's at, and to create the platform for her with Alina and Linda and the whole staff of Wings of Strength. They're family to us. So, they're literally family to us. And so they treat our kids great. They treat us great. They're just down to earth people, and I can have a conversation with Jake or Alina, or hell, half the time our daughter sits with Linda and Alina during the play-by-play and sitting there with them at shows, so they're going to do a lot of things for the sport going forward, I think, and I'm excited for that, for everybody.
And that's the thing, is being a family. And how's it? Y'all both have you have your little boy. I forgot what your little boy's name is. You had him right back through surgery, through cesarean.
Keaton.
Yeah, and he's already Keaton. Remember the rest of it's long. He has a long name.
Keaton Thomas.
And I know he's about 2 months old right now.
Yep.
Or 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, he's 2 months.
Yes, 2 months.
Yeah,
we can't hear you.
And it's like this. How old is she? Or is it?
She is.
I'm saying,
7.
How old is your daughter?
7.
7. Okay. And 7. And what's it like? When y'all go to like school events and see their mommy and daddy walking through the door.
Well, I'll give you a nice one. So I have a stepson that's in Minneapolis, and he's 18. So this is his senior year. He's going through his state finals for basketball. And you get around a bunch of 18-year-old boys. You know how that is, right? So
yeah. I used to be one. Kids used to be one too.
You might still be one a little bit, though.
No. I will tell you this. I tell you this.
The corner. And I have Keaton with me, and I'm about to change him, and I'm walking through, and there's four boys walking towards me, and this one kid says to the other kid, "Wow, look at that MILF over there," and the other one smacks him and says, "That's Cody's stepmom," and they took off. I get,
That's Cody's mom, man.
yeah,
That's Cody's
run.
mom.
No, it's
Yeah,
funny. A
but
lot
like I
of
said,
people just kind of
yeah,
sit back and look at us like they're not sure if they're supposed to talk to us or if we're friendly people. You're really fit, you're really big, you look really intimidating. We get that a lot. But at the end of the day,
yeah,
you know, it's one of those things where we've kind of gotten so used to, like most bodybuilders, the shock factor of who is this, or holy crap, you're
hmm,
big. But it's
yeah.
funny sometimes to see their reactions.
Yeah, because I like I said, I did a video where I talked about how there's some prejudice when it comes down to women female bodybuilding because some people are not comfortable with the idea of seeing women with muscles. You know, there's guys who would troll y'all on social media because they themselves can't even buff the great. Now I can tell you like this: I played football when I was younger, and I lift weights too. Now I got in the real world and look like this, and it And and I tell you this, me and your husband, we're only a year apart. He's
Oh
born in
wow.
'73. I was born in '74. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We're only a
Wow.
year apart. Yeah, yeah. I had a luxury of not having children. But like I said, this is like about the prejudice of people are about y'all ladies and both also the men. Like with men, a little bit more acceptable
Yeah.
compared to the women. But that I'm on social media sometimes. I see guys make comments. I say, man, don't say that. If you don't like them, don't be on here. These
Right.
women do this as a sport. They are athletes. It's no different if you're like someone like Marion Jones, if you're Clarissa Shields, if you're Chris Cyborg, if you're like, and mostly we get into it because my older brother, he used to play football and he's smack. And I used to like read him because back then you had Schwarzenegger, you had Lee Labrada, Lee Haney, you had a lot of those guys, and the women was something different. To see a woman, because I'm from North Carolina and this is the South, and women around here are a little bit more fuller, a little thicker, and it's something to see a woman in a different figure, in different shape. And I've matured as a man, and but still I have those tendencies like other guys. But I find y'all women, y'all still attractive, y'all still women, y'all beautiful in your own light. You may not be like the standard, you maybe not be what Hollywood beauty or what you see in a movie or in a magazine, something like that. But you are beautiful women. Y'all are serious athletes. Y'all do what y'all do because of a passion, and it's just and y'all get a lot of flack. That's true of that. And and this is just a special thing to be that you're a mother, you're an athlete, you're working, you and Keith, y'all got this power couple. It's kind of like almost be Jeff Everson and Corey Everson, or I remember there was some great power couples back in the day when I was coming up. And you kind of remind me in a way, not just Melly Specco, but you kind of remind me of another female bodybuilder I used to be a big fan of, and that was Diane Dennis. And she was a female bodybuilder who was also a mother who competed, she was a mother before she became a female bodybuilder. And if you could do anything, like possibly, if you could, like, who was the person that really inspired you to be in this sport? Both of you, who was your really biggest inspiration?
Okay, I'm going to be completely honest, and I don't know if this is going to make sense, but it was a person that is a nobody that told me I could never do this. That's who inspired me. I didn't follow the
So a
sport.
hater.
Wasn't she your coach?
She was actually my first coach ever when I first decided that I wanted to try this journey. So I never followed women's bodybuilding. I didn't even know who anybody was when I first started, 15 years ago. I started this sport because I was told I could never do it. I know
Mm.
that's
So
crazy.
you're just like, Yeah, that's kind of remind me episode of Naruto where it says, people said I was a failure. I want to prove them wrong.
Oh yeah, she told me to my face, "You'll never
Yeah,
be an
yeah.
IFBB pro. It's too much
Keith,
words."
who was your biggest inspiration?
My biggest inspiration was, I know you probably know
And that's the thing about
Stan Efferding and Flex Wheeler were the two biggest people in my life and I give all the credit, and I'll give more credit to him more than anything, was my brother Stan Efferding. And I call him my brother because he's pretty much raised me since I was in college. So when I started to play, he was actually, the weird thing, he was my manager in my apartment complex in Eugene, Oregon, where I was running for Nike and playing basketball. And I know I was getting ready to go away to Minnesota to play football. So I asked him, I said, I was 185 pounds at the time. That summer, I went from 185 to 215. We worked out in the middle of the afternoon for conditioning. We went to the gym after that. He had two of my other buddies. We all went to the same junior college. Two of us went to the NFL. The third one is actually business partners with Stan. And then after that, between track and football, my career just evolutionized. And once I got done with that, I talked to him about bodybuilding. We sat down with Flex and Charles Glass to make a decision on who I was going to train with. And he was just my sponsor, my backer, as far as me doing this. And I said, well, why don't you do Master Nationals and I'll do USAs? And we moved out to San Jose for 6 months, training under Flex. Unfortunately, Stan ended up getting his pro card before I did at Master Nationals, and super heavyweights looked freaking phenomenal. It took me another year and a half, 2 years to get my pro card. But those are the two guys that no matter what I've done in my career have always been there to inspire me and push me when I wanted to quit, because I was almost on the verge of quitting. I was like, I can't do this. It's too much mentally, it's too much mentally and physically, and it's a poor man's sport at the end of the day. Everybody thinks this is glitz and glam about this sport, but you dump more money than you'll ever see back. And when I wanted to quit, they looked at me after North Americans. I remember I was in the parking lot, I was crying. I just lost to Abbas Tommy, and nobody could believe it. I couldn't believe it, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And they're like, "You're not quitting. We have something to accomplish." And because of that, I end up competing in the sport, and I turned pro the next year at Team U. Actually, Steve Weinberger told me I should come out to Team U and compete. The funny thing is, I won hands down, and I didn't want to take my pro card because I knew I was going to get scrutinized for being the runner-up at USAs and Nationals and North Americans, that people were going to say I took the easy way out, because I don't think it's an easy way out to get a pro card, but because that was the easier of the shows, being the two-time runner-up at USAs and runner-up at Nationals and North Americans, that they're like, well, why would you do this show out of all the shows? And I was like, because Steve Weinberger told me I should do this show. So, and when it was all said and done, those guys, Stan and Flex, are still in my corner when I need them. And so those are two of the guys, in my opinion, who kept me in the sport, kept me from quitting, as well as my children, because I felt that if I walked away from something that I was doing so well in, how would I ever explain to them how, it's easy to quit on something that, and I didn't want to leave that, I didn't want to leave that thought in their mind. So I kept grinding. And so thanks to Stan and Flex, those are the two biggest guys in my life that pretty much, altered my career as far as the sport's concerned.
Yeah. So Flex is kind of like, I like the quotes from movies because I'm a big movie fan. And Flex was kind of like your Mickey. He's like, "Get up, you son of a bitch. Mickey loves ya."
Oh no. I used to I couldn't eat all the food, and he'd be like, "You say you want to turn pro? Then you better eat the fucking food." I mean, literally, he would call and cuss me out. I'm like, dude, okay. And he would send me pictures at nighttime of him when he competed. And I go, that's not encouraging, Flex. We all know he had one of the prettiest physiques ever. But he was just that guy. I mean, because, being around him and being around Chris and being around Charles and those guys, and being at goals and training with those guys and being around Stan, and they'll tell you, man, we would try to kill each other and Flex would try to kill us. But Flex was just that guy. And what are you going to say to that? How are you going to ever back talk Flex Wheeler? He's one of the greatest bodybuilders ever compete. So how do you say nothing but, okay, let's do it again and let's keep grinding? So it's been an awesome experience for me to be with those guys.
Yeah, because I know Flex had got some surgery a while back when he lost his leg. I hope he's doing good, because he's a legend, and and it's just it's just like one of these great guys. I know he's going through something, but he did a lot in the sport for his time. Him, Paul Delton, the Vince Taylors, those guys were just legends. They were just I would love to meet a lot of these guys. I would do because I've been a fan of like bodybuilding for a long time. I respect you guys, but I'm more the fan of the women. So
no, and I
but
get
like
it.
I said,
I agree with you're saying. And I told Tina, I said, it's like when Alina had to go on and just, I said, here's the thing. It was a platform that got taken away from them, which wasn't fair to any of them. Because it's not for everybody. I mean, as guys, we walk around and people people say certain stuff, but for women, it's like, why is it not normal? Why shouldn't it be normal? Why shouldn't it be acceptable? That's my question. I felt that they were being discriminated against for no reason. And to bump out them and put in women's physique. Now, and think about it. When you really look at women's physique, what's really the difference between women's physique and women's bodybuilding? They're a little bit smaller.
Not much.
The girls, even this year at the Olympia, I was there looking at prejudging. I'm like, shit, some of these girls are harder than the girls in women's bodybuilding. They're just smaller. But there's really not a big difference. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, because I noticed like one thing was I follow AJ Roberts over a female bodybuilding channel. He follows me, and he did an interview with Ivy Rain. And Ivy was sitting there while she was doing the interview. Ivy was like her shoulder took up the camera, and I mean I know she took fifth at the Olympia. She's going to have to go to bodybuilding. Her, I think, and Moon, and also a couple other girls. I think Valentina Mishner. Those girls are going to have to transition to bodybuilding.
Yep.
And I know recently, Teresa Invesic, she's going to go down to physique. But when I remember when Teresa huge. Teresa was when she first started, she was a monster, but she really downsized the last few.
Yeah. And we think it's the Asian girl who just was.
And then I think it's two. I think you picked up two for the ambassadors. I think Helen Davis and this one chick, I forgot her name. She competed at the Vancouver Pro. She took first because Sheeta Blake took second.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think yeah. Now that with Shanique Grant dropping out because she said she wants to have a family, she wants to get settled. I think now the field's going to change a little bit. You have Sarah Vegas who won the Miss Physique division, and I was surprised. I think a lot of people were surprised at Sarah. And Andrea, she's pretty impressive. I think she's pretty impressive. And I know you stand beside her, Tina, and we always like to stand beside Andrea Shaw.
Oh, it was awesome. Andrea and I told her, and she even told me when we were at the Olympia. I told her when she first came into the sport, I said, you're special. And I was like, you're going to go far. I said, she just has that look. She has that small waist, big muscle bellies. She's a pretty girl. And I told her, I was like, you're going to do well. And I told Keith the same thing when she did Chicago and took second. I was like, she is just pretty. Like everything about her muscle bellies, her size, her sculpt, she's just pretty. And the friendship that I've had with her, because we came into women's bodybuilding the same year as pros, it's been awesome because I can relate to her because she came up. She can relate to me because I came up, and we both kind of started where we started, and then she shot off. And I told Keith, I said, if she gets right, it's gonna be game over. Like there's nobody that's gonna beat her if she stays the way she is. I mean, hands down, she has got a very pretty physique. She's got the old school look, the small waist. She's taller. Her and I are about the same height. I think she's about 5'8" and a half, 5'9". Mm-hmm. So, but just her energy, what she brings to the stage, it's amazing. I love it because she's so positive. Everything about her is positive energy, and that's what we need in this sport.
Yeah, and she's party too.
Yes.
Like I said.
She has that hybrid.
Anyway, this. Huh?
She has that hybrid look.
He
Yeah.
said she has a hybrid look. Very pretty.
Yeah, because she reminds me of body. She reminds me of bodybuilder from back in the day. Audrey Harris White. She had very chiseled, model look that I think a lot of people like. Very, she has that very, that smiles just so, we're gonna, like I said, I know I'm keeping y'all because y'all got a crying baby, y'all got things to do, but this is one thing I'm thinking about. If they could create, they create more divisions in bodybuilding. They just create wellness. Would y'all two ever think about doing a pairs division?
Absolutely.
Yes, we've actually talked about how we wish they still had it.
Yeah,
that would be
because
that would be
some great measures come out like that.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, they used to have it in the north
because
and stuff like that, but that'd be awesome because we would definitely do it.
Yeah, I wish they would.
you remember there's like Tony Pierce because he partners with Juliet Bergman. He's with the Quaval. That was a great thing. But anyway, I really appreciate y'all time. I mean, it's great to hear from two people in this sport, the two sides of the sport. I mean, from the women's side and from the men's side. A lot of people are very curious about female bodybuilding. I mean, and being both a couple and trying to raise kids and compete and work. It's really a difficult thing to do. And we're not around. You got to be careful. You got to make sure you be safe. Take precautions. But I really do appreciate y'all time, both of you. I really do.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate.
Yes.
Letting us be a platform.
No problem.
Stay positive. That's what we can.
That's it. So, and I like this. If you want to, we'll do another interview like after the season's over. We settle down, you get a little rest, you get your chance to get your cheat meal in, and we can talk again.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's here, who dropped a like, who subscribed, share this on social media, share with your friends. You can check me out here on my name is Always George page on YouTube. Also, I have a Facebook page called Lions Den Female Bodybuilding Community. We try to dedicate to the ladies here in the sport positive support for these women because they need it. They deserve it because they do this for a passion. And this is why I do this as a passion of mine. So I'm gonna say this. I want to thank you, Miss Tina S. Williams, Mr. Big Keith, or should I call you Chief Keith?
You're welcome. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. This is your man, always George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Bodybuilding Talk. Don't like, subscribe. We're out. And thank y'all both again.